Alright, I'm going to be showing you how to add characters into the downloadable build for Psych engine. There's not many, videos that go in depth or anything like that. A lot of people get stuck. So I just thought I'd clear up some misconceptions here. So just download the game from the GitHub. You could use the release build, source code works too. It's still the same process when you build the game, but it doesn't really matter. It's like adding characters isn't hard coded, so it's super easy. You're gonna want your characters, so I'm gonna be using Hank as an example. So you're just gonna want to take the assets and you're gonna want to put them in mods, images, characters. This is where you'll put your assets, right? And then you open up the game. Then when you boot up the game and you get to the main menu, you want to hit 7 and it'll bring up this little menu here. You're gonna go to character editor. Now it depends if your character is either playable or if it's an enemy. In my case it's an enemy, so I'm gonna turn off playable character. Actually, one thing I recommend is instead of using BF as a template, usually either use dad or mom, because they have like the least amount of animations. They basically have sort of the essentials, so I'm gonna just use the dad as an example. You're gonna want to go to where you have your characters, so mods, images, characters, right? And you can see that the image is called Hank assets, right? Oops, just put that here. So you can see it's called Hank assets, right? So in character or image file name, you're gonna remove this part. You're gonna change it to whatever your image name is, right? Then you're gonna hit reload image. Right now you're basically like almost done already. All you need to do now is you go to the animations tab and you want to start off. I like to start off with idle because that's sort of just it's sort of the indicator if it's working or not. Then what you want to do is you can see there's a bunch of, it just says error, right, for each one, right? So what you do is you open up the XML for the character, right? Open it in Notepad. It's easier to look at, it's easier to navigate. Don't use like Internet Explorer or some weird shit. Just use Notepad. So you can see for Hank's idle animation, it's called Hank idle, right? The reason why you get this like error is because it's still using like the JSON for the other characters. So you can see dad idle dance, you're just gonna remove that. Type in whatever your animation like in the XML is called. So for example, mine is Hank idle. Just put that in, hit add/update, and then when you go to the idle, you see it plays properly. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You just keep doing that for each sort of animation. So you can see your Hank left note. All you're doing is just removing and then copying paste, and then you hit add/update. That's pretty much all there is to it. Alright, so let's say that your character, if you're going with my example and using the dad, right, you'll notice that you see some things like hey, sing left loops, like idle loop. If you want to remove animations that don't apply to your character, all you would do is you open up this tab, you hit the animation that you want to remove, and just hit remove. It's that simple. So for example, I don't really have any loop animations for this character, so I'll just remove all the things that like have a dash loop at the end. And stuff like hey, you can also remove. And now you can just have the main animations to play. Alright, so now once you're done, you sort of notice that everything's sort of like off place. This is what the offset editor is for. You just move the arrow keys, it'll change the offset of your character. If you hold shift, and you can see it moves 10 times faster. So what you want for the idle is, the goal for your character is you want them to be sort of around this area. So when you're on the idle and they're in the air, go to character X and Y, and you're gonna add, and basically sort of like until it looks normal. So here you could see sort of like standing properly on the stage instead of being in the air. And then now when you hit W S, you know, to like switch the animation. You would sort of line up each animation with the idle. So you could see here, like, all you're doing is really, like, if you really want to know, like, how to get perfect offsets, I guess, like, you would just sort of look at the feet and see if they, like, stay in the same place. So it's like, as long as it's not, like, you know, they're not, it's like, you can see here for this left pose, he's, like, super off, like, with his idle. So all I'm doing is gonna hold shift and then just, like, start mashing the left arrow. So about, like, right here. Then you can see now it's sort of like, it's like a lot less, you know, like weird. So probably like about here is good. Probably move it up a bit more. Yeah, so now you can see it sort of lines up better. And same thing for this little shoot animation. You can see now everything's pretty much done. If you want to add an extra animation that your character has, maybe it's sort of like an alt animation, sort of like the parents' Christmas, or if they play a little animation during the song, you would go to idle and you'll remove animation name and put whatever you want. So I guess I'll put shoot up, for example, and then you go to where you go on the XML file and you can see here Hank up shoot. I'll just copy that, put that in. Wait, actually, oops, put it in the wrong sort of area here. And then add / update, and then you can see now, you can see shoot up. There's a sort of shooting animation. This sort of area is animation, like it's basically it cuts off a portion of the animation. It lets you decide what frame that an animation should start on. You're not gonna really be touching this a lot, so it's not really that important. Although what is sort of more important is the should it loop box. So the should it loop box basically means instead of having it play like this for a set amount of time, you would just hit this, hit add / update. Now you can see his idle, it's much more smoother and fluid now that it's just looping. Alright, so now you're probably wondering, okay, I got my character set up, but now I want to have their own icon. So what you'll do here is that you go to your Psych engine folder, you go to mods, images, icons, then you'll copy and paste your icon file here. You're gonna want to name it icon dash whatever your character name is, right? Also be when you have the icon, make sure it's 300 by 150, or else it's gonna look super weird in game. Then instead of icon name, instead of dad, you just put whatever the name of your character is. You can see now has the cool Hank one. So now you can also, you know, mess around with the health icon. So like the color of the actual like bar. Just something, you know, you can mess around with. I would recommend doing so because I personally think it looks cool. Now once you're done with your character, you know, they look, you know, they're pretty good. You have their icon and stuff. All you're gonna do is now you're just gonna hit save character. You're gonna change this to, instead of file name dad, you just name it to whatever you want. So I'm just gonna name mine Hank. Now you're gonna close the game. Now you're gonna open up to wherever you saved it. So I saved mine here. So now you're just gonna go to mods. You're gonna go to the same place, right? The mods folder is the good folder, right? So you just go to your Psych engine, go to mods, characters. This is where you would put the JSON. Now when you open up the game, you just go to any song. I'll use Dad Battle.
3, 2,
Once you're in
1,
the song, you
go.
hit 7. Brings you to this little debug menu. Instead of opponent, you can go down to where you can see Hank. And when I click on it, you can see it has this little icon, which is an indicator that we've added the character correctly.
3, 2, 1, go.
See, there it is. So yeah, that's how you add custom characters to Psych engine. No source code editing required. Just some basic copy and pasting.